Welcome to Dear Art Producer, a podcast connecting the photography and video community with art producers. Drawing on her agency experience some years ago, photography agent Heather Elder penned an open letter to art producers discussing the finer points of working with one another. This podcast takes that idea and will introduce you to different art producers, share the stories of their diverse career paths, explore what it means to stay relevant, and examine industry topics such as marketing, estimating, directing, websites, and more.
Hi, welcome to Dear Art Producer. I am your host, Heather Elder, and today we welcome Haley Silverman, a freelance integrated producer who started as a rep, then moved on to the crew side, and then on to art production at such great agencies as FCB, Havas, and Energy BBDO. I read on her website that she has a corgi, which we will absolutely have to talk about because they're my new obsession, even though I have two Goldens. Hi.
Hey.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Even though we had some tech issues earlier, I'm proud of ourselves for figuring that out. So thank you for bearing with me there.
It's just like another day on the job, fixing it.
I was interviewing somebody the other day about something, and we were talking about how, thank God we're producers, because we can produce the heck out of anything, a birthday party, a vacation, we can troubleshoot things. Nothing phases us. So.
Really, the show must go on. I always like to say my favorite production was my wedding because it was just like a job. I had so much fun, except watching my own money be spent was a little.
Yeah, that's not good. That's definitely not good. I know. And whenever anyone will take over producing a vacation for me, then it's a true vacation, you know?
That's a great one.
That's funny. Well, welcome. So happy to have you. Thank you for being here. I know you're working from home today. It's a Friday in the middle of the holiday season, so I hope things aren't too crazy. I know it's everything. I feel like every email I get from everyone right now is like, I'm working late, I'm in early, I'm working the weekend. So it's a bit of a crash course or not crash course, but I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but to the end of the year.
Yeah, it has been a crazy end of the year. And I tend to work better from home. So I work a lot faster and more efficiently. So I'm always trying to sneak away and work from home if I can, because I just get more done being away from the office.
Yeah.
And not being
distracted. It's true. And not being interrupted and not being distracted. People always, my office has always been in my home, and people always asked me how I deal with that. And I have always had to have a separate space. Otherwise I'd get distracted by other stuff. So.
And I have a distracting corgi. So that.
Oh, it's so cute. Oh my God. At the end, we'll talk about him. Otherwise, I think the whole podcast will be about the corgi. So, and you'll have to send me a photograph. But I'm intrigued that you used to be a rep. I think I probably knew that at some point, but just being reminded of it was interesting. You were lucky enough to get out. What happened there?
Well, it's interesting. So I kind of have to backtrack a little on my history. I went to art school. I studied photography, all while knowing that I never really wanted to be a photographer. I was just so infatuated with the industry. And I had a professor who was just coming off of a commercial career. He still shoots, but he was coming into the school to be a teacher, and he taught a business practices for photography course. And he invited me to some of his shoots and kind of showed me the ropes. And he said, you'd be a really great rep. And I was like, what's a rep? Like, what even is this? And he kind of taught me about this world that we all work in now. And he introduced me to Gary Horowitz at Greenhouse, who was my first boss in the industry. And I got him and Robin, and Emily Wins was there at the time. She was she was someone I worked really closely with and consider a mentor. And it was just really fun. I kind of got thrown into it. And then during recession time, I decided to move to Chicago. And a lot of reps here kind of work solo. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me here. So that's when I jumped to the crew side. And, I just wanted to be in this business however I could. So, I did the obvious. I did a little photo assisting. I did a little digital teching. I got into styling a little bit because one day someone said, hey, you like fashion. Like, do you want to try styling? And I was like, sure, I'll try anything. I wanted to stay in this business. So I kind of made my rounds and learned a little bit of everything. And I think, and people tell me all the time, it's what makes me good at my job today, because I've been in everyone's shoes. I've been the lowest person in the, I've been the assistant and I get it. So I'm always somebody that I want to say hello to everyone on set. I want to know, what they're into and yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a huge difference. And you're literally answering my next question. But, there's so many skills that you've learned from all your previous jobs that I'm sure make you a better art producer, and not just a friendlier, more kind person. What are some of those things that the skills that you feel like each one of those roles might have had?
I don't know if I can say it's so much the skills, but it's just like, it has made me a more understanding person. Just in life, not just professionally. I'm more willing to take a step back and really think about what that person's going through, what struggles they're going through, and really work as a team to help solve those issues. Because, at the end of the day, it is a team effort. You need all hands on deck, and it doesn't just fall on one person.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I feel like every single day, the team that I'm surrounded by, whether it be the team in my office or the team at a photography studio or the team at an ad agency, we all have to think together that we are that team. Otherwise, if anybody kind of goes rogue and starts to try and do it on their own, it doesn't really work.
Totally. I totally agree with that.
Well, what's something that some people might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, the first commercial shoot I ever went on was when I met my husband. It's
really?
A cute story, and everyone loves that. And another fun fact about me personally is I do my own gel manicures, and that's where I get out my creative outlets. Because I started in fine art school, and I did a lot of drawing and painting. And so I do like really fun nail art designs. So whenever people follow me on Instagram, they're like, oh my God, I saw your story and your nails were so crazy. Like, how do you even have the patience to do that? And it's just like this escape that I have from this crazy world where I just kind of go out and I paint my nails, and it's just really fun.
Oh my God. Okay. So tell me, not to like totally digress here, but have you found an easier way to get the gel off your nails?
Yeah, there's this product I found on Amazon. I'll have to send you a link to.
Oh, please send it to me. Oh my God. Okay, great. Okay. Well, how about the obstacles? Has there been anything that you felt like held you back that you just didn't let hold you back?
Yeah, I think, working as an agency producer, we all deal with agency politics, and it's something that I've struggled with. I'm not someone that's really quick to drink the Kool-Aid and do what the cool kids are doing. I kind of, figure things out on my own. And I certainly ask for advice along the way from people I respect. But, I've definitely gotten hung up on agency politics and not being in the cool kids club. I won't name names on what agencies those are. But it's something that I love about being freelance now is that, I come into an agency, and if there's a toxic vibe, I know I'm only going to be there for, 3 months or so, and I can get any job done and then move on to something else. And it's really creatively refreshing for me to have that constant change and challenge. It's not for everybody. I just really love it.
Yeah. My husband and I talk about that a lot because I too met my husband at work. He actually was my boss when I was at an ad agency, and I was an account person there. And there was I was young, and there was, of course, office politics and stuff going on that I just was never good at. I didn't like it. I wasn't good at it. And we were just talking recently about, one of the benefits for me always having been a rep was that I didn't really have much of that to deal with. And if a client came around that we didn't like or we didn't get along, although they are few and far between because everyone seems to have a common goal, so everyone seems to get along fine. But if it was something was a struggle, after the job was over, they were gone. So I always liked that. But I would say for the most part, and I would guess you would say this the same that, most people we all get along. We all have a common goal. We're looking to create something creative and really amazing. So I think when you share those goals and those values, it tends to be a positive experience.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Well, you've been in lots of different agencies, and I think these last few years have been really interesting on the agency level. with how much our industry is changing. Is there any, like, what are you seeing when and you don't have to obviously name specifics or specific agency names, but are there trends or things that you're seeing going on at agencies now that you hadn't seen before?
Yeah. One of my favorite things that's going on is production departments becoming really integrated. It kind of gave me an opportunity to learn all different types of production. It's really nice to see people joining the departments together and not being so siloed and working as a team with everybody and not being like, oh, well, you can't do this and I only do that. And some people really hate the idea of integration. I think it's amazing. And I've really tried to embrace that, especially being a freelancer, just coming in and being a team player and working on whatever comes at me. I've had the opportunity lately to do some experiential projects, which I've never done before, but I always say, like, if you can produce a shoot, you can produce anything. Production is a certain language that we all speak, and it's just different vendors and different lingo. And it's been really fun to see, and I'm seeing more agencies do that and embrace this really modern take on production. And it's really fun. And it's not meant to leave anyone out. I see older folks that have been in the business for, decades learning new skills. And it's really cool when agencies are willing to take the time and invest in those people and really make those departments seamless.
I agree 100%. I feel like there was a time a few years ago where it was so many freelancers were in the world and people were scared because art departments or creative art production departments were getting smaller. People were freelancing those out. Jobs were being taken in-house. Lots of changes were happening, and art buyers at the time, they were called art buyers, didn't really know what their job was becoming. And as they evolved into art producers, I found that a really exciting time because they got to expand their knowledge base and learn more things, like you said, motion, experiential, all those sort of things. And it just got to be a time where you got to be more valuable to different agencies and clients and brands for different reasons.
Yeah, it's totally about being more valuable. And, when I embarked on my freelance career, that was my biggest goal, was just to be a super valuable person that someone could bring in, and I could handle a small social content shoot, or I can handle a big TV job or a big event or help with a pitch or whatever needs to be done. And that was kind of my biggest goal with, staying relevant in this business and having a long career ahead of me.
Well, now you're a freelancer, and it's hard to know where the freelancers go as a rep or a photographer or director who's trying to get your attention. How do people stay in touch with you and let you know what they're up to?
That is a tough one because, I used to get a lot of promos mailed to me, and I don't have an office anymore. I do make my home address public, but no one's sending me promos, which is totally fine. Or my home mailman would probably not appreciate that. But yeah, especially too with agencies, like people don't have offices anymore, or even some people don't have desks anymore. They have mobile desks. So, the promo thing is unfortunately, it's tougher and tougher these days. I do get a lot of personal notes and emails from people when they're in town. I keep my personal email address pretty public so that people can reach out to me. If I can make time for a meeting, I'm always happy to. I think, just a great way for people to get your attention is to take a minute to get to know you, whether it's, stalking someone on social media or whatever. And sharing some sort of personal note about that person. Also, I have people spell my name wrong constantly, and I know it's like such a little silly thing and I should just get over it. But I think it shows attention to detail. If you, send someone an email with the wrong name, or you spell their name really incorrectly when their name is in their email, it just kind of, it shows you're not really paying attention.
No, I agree.
I notice those things when someone spells my name right, or if they share a personal note. I had someone once send me a cookbook, and they put a note in it that said, "I saw your Instagram and I see you're like a huge home cook, and I just thought you would appreciate this." And I'm not saying this so everyone sends me a cookbook, but it was just a really nice thing that they took the time, saw something that I was interested in, and happened to have work. They were a food photographer, and it was just a really nice little way to be like, oh, wow, they actually were paying attention.
Yeah. And it was very relevant to you, and it was meaningful.
Yeah, and it was really thoughtful. And it's like, okay, I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
It's a little thing. And I'm not saying it has to be a personal gift of any kind, but even if it's an email, like, hey, I saw you just worked on this campaign and it was really cool, whatever that may be. But I think taking more time to do personal notes or reach outs versus, the mass email marketing that is easy to get lost or eaten up by spam.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's really easy to send out the generic work. I'm a rep. I do it all the time, but it's and we get great response for that, and it's positive, and it's, shows that it's still worth doing, and there's valuable information that comes from it. But it's the personal connections that I can make or my photographers can make where we get the most impactful replies. But of course those take the longest amount of time to do and they're the hardest to do, but they're the thing that we always, try to make the most time to find to make happen.
I totally hear that. I was just thinking about it as we were talking about it, how time consuming that would be.
But it's important, it's really important. And I tell photographers all the time that if, the single most important thing they can do if they're not shooting for themselves is getting out there and getting to know people. And I think luckily for them, obviously it includes meeting people and getting in front of people, but you can also get to know people online now a little bit, not in a stalking sort of way, but like, that person noticed you were interested in cooking and, you put your profile public, they saw it and they, took advantage of that and shared something personal with you. So I do think there's ways that you can find the time to do it. It makes it a little easier nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if it's limiting it to, I found these few producers that I want to reach out to and get to know, versus the daunting task of trying to talk to everyone.
Oh my gosh, completely. I also tell photographers, especially when they're first starting out, like own your backyard first. Start small. Don't think you have to have everybody in the country know who you are. Just you live in Chicago. Great. Okay, let's get to know everybody in Chicago. And you want to narrow it down from there, get the ad agencies and try and get to know one person at each ad agency. That becomes so much more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Attainable goal than, oh my gosh, I've got to reach out to all these art producers around the country and get to know all these creatives.
That's such a good point. I love that.
Okay, good. Thank you. How about, where you go look for photographers and directors if you need them? Where's the first place a job comes across your desk, and what's the first thing you do to provide a list to your creative team?
So I have a pretty organized bookmarks folder of people that I've saved throughout the years that I've met or I've interacted with, or just someone that really caught my eye that I saw. And that it could be that I saw them on Instagram or online or in a mailed book or something. I try to always bookmark people that I'm interested in. And I'll also say, and I'm not plugging this because I've been working with them, but I really do love the new app Komyoon. I've been transparency working with Jigisha for a little bit on this, and I just used it recently for a job that I'm on, and it brought someone to my attention that I had totally forgotten about, and I saw this person's portfolio on there. It was really well done, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I'm bidding with them right now. So
let's go in a second. Jigisha is a friend, and she was always an amazing client and colleague. And I just would love to take a second for the people here to know and understand what Komyoon is if they haven't. Do you mind talking a bit about it? Because I too think it's a great, really powerful tool.
So for those that are not familiar with Komyoon, it's a web-based commerce app. It's a directory for producers to find photographers, and it's built in a way that's, very reminiscent of social media, which is what we're all used to looking at these days. It's sorted by tags. It's really beautiful to look at. It's easy to interact with. And I've kind of been working with them just on a hourly basis here and there, helping get photographers' portfolios up there, helping them organize it, and kind of welcoming them into the community. I love it because I've come from a lot of younger social agencies where I had creatives finding people on Instagram, and there's nothing wrong with that. I sometimes use Instagram too, but they'll bring me an influencer that I don't know anything about them. I don't know that they know how to operate a real camera. I don't know what kind of business sense they have. And it's oftentimes not someone I can actually hire. So the nice thing about Komyoon is it's a place that you can go and find real working commercial photographers and directors and illustrators that you can hire. And it's organized in this beautiful way, kind of like Instagram, but for us. And when Jigisha told me about it a year before she launched it, I was like, I'm so excited. I want to work with you on it. I think it's a great idea. And I just had the pleasure of using it for a project I'm on right now. And it, like I said, brought someone's portfolio to my attention that I totally forgot about. And it was super exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I am a fan, and I think it's definitely on our list for our group this year to try and integrate it more into what we're doing. I think for photographers, sometimes it's hard to not learn something new, but fold something new in when they have so much on their to-do list. And I'd like to make sure that I'm encouraging our photographers to, keep up with it more. Okay, so in addition to Komyoon, and we gave our little shout out to them, what about like source books and attending events like Look Le Book and At Edge's event? Do you get to do any of those sort of things as a freelancer?
I don't get the books anymore, unfortunately, because, again, I don't really have an office. Occasionally I see them floating around and I'll flip through them every now and then, but I really try to keep things digital. For me, it's just helpful because then it's with me wherever I am. Also, I'm kind of a eco-friendly person. I don't like to hoard paper and waste. I mean, I love print. Don't get me wrong. I love looking at it. But, we waste so much in our industry and it breaks my heart.
I know.
I do sometimes get out to the events. The Chicago Le Book's been a little weird the last couple of years, but I don't want that to deter fresh talent from coming. I think that those events are super fun. It's always good to see people, familiar faces, new faces. I definitely appreciate the events and when people come to town.
I think there's so many opportunities for photographers, and directors to share their work. There's source books, there's online source book versions, there are these events, there's in-person meetings, there's email blasts, there's, other types of direct marketing email, there's, in-person meetings, all of those sort of things. And I'm so appreciative of all of that because I feel like in the past, when I first started as a rep, and I won't say how long ago, but we didn't have very many choices. It was like, the black book and the workbook, and that was it. And you could send out a mailer, maybe you would win an award. But other than that, it was really hard to make a mark. Now, granted, there were a lot less photographers in the industry than there were now. So the competition was not as tough as it is now. But I just think there's a nice collection of things out there that photographers can use as tools to market themselves. The hard thing, I guess, is that there are a lot now, and everybody, there's not one single path to get your attention.
Totally. There's a lot of choices, and it's really, I think that comes down to a personal choice for each artist as to how they want to market and who they're looking to market to. If you know that, you want to market to a lot of, younger creatives, then maybe something like Instagram is a good avenue for you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about getting jobs approved. I know it's such a long and arduous process, much more than it used to be. There's the initial image pull, there's the treatments, there are the creative calls, there are the pre-bids. This is not in any particular order. There's the many internal conversations that you're having and meetings that you're having. And, it's no longer quick creative call, fax over an estimate, and we hear pretty soon, after that. Now there's just so many layers involved, and you've seen it because you're at a lot of different agencies. What's the process usually look like for you?
It is quite laborious these days, and a lot of that is because clients tend to want everything all at once. So if they're doing their TV campaign, they want to also get social at the same time, and they want to do these big integrated shoots where they're kind of getting all their mediums at once. And so what ends up happening is you have so many different avenues of production that you need to tackle, and you're bidding the TV, you're bidding the social, you're bidding a website or banner development or what have you. I'm just making this up. And I think that that's maybe something that people aren't aware of, is that we're not just getting, a triple bid for still photography. We're also getting a triple bid from production companies and post houses and website developers and so on and so on. And so there's just a lot that goes into that, and it takes a lot of time. And then not only does it take us time to put everything together and have all these creative calls, but it also takes the client a lot of time to decide, which pieces of the puzzle do they want to put together.
And what does that client meeting look like? Is that usually in person? Is that over the phone? Are they looking at the treatments and the actual estimates? Like, what are you sharing with the client, and what do they require in order to make their decision?
On the phone or in person really depends on location. I mean, I've worked with some local clients, and it's definitely always nice when you can get FaceTime with the client and be in the room together. But I've certainly done lots of telephone award meetings. In an award meeting, clients will end up seeing typically the treatments, or at least in an abbreviated version of the treatments, just because sometimes the decks get so huge. I always try to give everyone, a fair shot. Of course, there's always going to be a creative retro, but I want the clients to see everyone for what they are. We definitely don't typically show them, or at least I don't show them your estimate that you would send me. I would put that into another estimate that shows, if there's any agency travel or any additional talent over what's in your guys' bid, any post, anything like that, all of the other pieces that'll go into that puzzle, so that they really only see what they need to see. And if they request it, it's not a problem to show them. But a lot of times clients don't know what they're looking at, and it opens up a can of worms for them to nitpick. Why do we need this? Why do we need that? And they maybe don't understand, the small details of a shoot.
Right. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Okay. So what do you think are some misperceptions that exist in the process from the photographers and the rep side to what you have to handle and you have to manage on your end? Like, if you had anything to tell us or, ask us to remember, what would that be?
That I'm not hiding anything from anyone. I get follow-up emails like, is there an answer yet? Is there this? Is there that? And I promise, I'm never hiding anything. I'm not someone that's going to sit on a big decision like that. But unfortunately, we're at the mercy of the client. It's their budget, and I can put timelines in front of them all they want, but sometimes they need more time, or it really has to go up the chain from, the direct marketing client we're working with all the way up to the CMO, sometimes to the president of the company, depending on how big or small they are. So there sometimes is a lot of decisions that need to be made, a lot of eyes that need to review it. And it's just the reality of today's world that our clients they're also stretched really thin and working on lots of projects, and they're expected to do a lot. So we can't always get answers as quickly as we want to.
And that leads me to kind of a really interesting question, at least for me personally, because I had this happen just this week. So we were supposed to hear about a job, let's say on Monday, and we didn't hear on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I followed up and didn't hear back. And then we thought, I don't want to email them on Wednesday. And I'm going to hear at some point, I will hear. But then today rolled around and I thought, oh God, I've got crew holding, people are asking, it's the holiday time. And I emailed and haven't heard back. So it's obviously not a good sign, but I'm just curious, we struggle on this end with how much, I don't want to bother you. And obviously you're going to let me know. But at the same time, when I have people holding and things, depending on the answers we thought we were going to get, is that perceived as being kind of a pain?
I will always answer people. If I'm bidding with them, I'm always going to say, we don't have an answer yet. I don't have a decision. I always sympathize with crew being on hold. And, as a freelancer and as someone that worked on the crew side, I've been there. It's especially this time of year, it's really hectic. So I always try to at least give a response. So I'm sorry for whoever's not responding to you, but
oh no, I mean, people get busy. I know I will hear either way, but and sometimes what I try to do to offset that is I'll send an email that says, hey, if you don't know anything, you don't need to reply. So it doesn't give them something else to do. It just knows that I know, there's nothing to report. But it's such a fine line. I think we're all trying to be respectful of each other's time, but there's just sometimes I just need to know.
Totally. I totally respect that. And anytime I've had someone reach out and say, hey, I've got crew holding or crew being challenged, I'm pretty transparent. I'm going to give you the most honest answer that I can. And sometimes if I know that person's not the reco or the client just wasn't feeling them for some reason, I might let them know at that point, hey, I don't want you to hold the crew. I don't think you guys have this one at this time or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's better to know at that point for sure. What about when a photographer doesn't get a job? What's your how do you let them know?
Oh, I always hate that because I always bid people that I really like. I try to bid people that I want to work with. I try to give people a call. I think I probably get judged as being a young millennial, but I'm someone that still picks up the phone. And I like to call people and have a conversation about it. And if I can't reach them, then I'll shoot over an email, just because I don't like to leave people hanging. But I do always try to call and give a personal explanation as to why. And I think it's.
Well, I can speak for the industry, I'm sure, with a loud appreciation here and saying thank you, because there's so many times we don't get that phone call. And just yesterday, we didn't get, that one of my photographers didn't get a job that we actually thought was pretty good. We did lots of rounds of revisions. Everybody was really engaged. So we were really surprised when we didn't get it. And I noticed when I hung up that we spent 25 minutes on the phone talking about it. And I thought, wow, she let me ask questions. She took me through the website. She was very specific about some reasons, not why we didn't get it, but just what was discussed in the meeting. And I thought that was so helpful for us, especially given the amount. And I'm not saying everybody has to spend that much time, but these photographers and their teams spend so much more time than they ever have between, the pre-bids, the calls, the treatment, creation, the revisions, all of that. And to not get a job, especially since a lot of them have fewer at-bats than they've ever had, it's hard. So having the full answer and being able to ask some questions was really something that was unusual. And I really, really appreciated that yesterday.
That's really nice. I've definitely had a few of those calls where I'm really sad to pick up the phone, but then, we end up getting into a conversation, or even if it's about, personal stuff or whatever, it just leaves a good impression to have that call. And then, there's always going to be opportunities to work together in the future. And if I have a good bidding experience with someone, of course, I'm going to definitely think of them down the road.
I love that. And I think that should be repeated. I think sometimes it gets forgotten in the process, meaning you go through everything and it's a lot of work and then you don't get the job and it's a big bummer. But it's not all lost, because if it is a positive experience, then you will call back. If it's not a positive experience, you absolutely won't call back. So there's value there in putting in the time, even if you might be a second choice or even a third bid. Be a resource, go for getting some more face time.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about motion before we have to leave. Do you do a lot of motion jobs?
I do. I'm doing more motion jobs these days than I am still jobs. I think that's just due to the nature of social media and, everybody wants moving picture. I'm doing OLVs constantly. I'm doing lots of social content, events now too, which has been really fun. But I think even if I'm not doing a full motion job, there's always a motion component.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you find that when there is a print and motion combo job, that the request initiates with the photographer or the director? Or is the photographer being the director? Do you start with the photographer and then you go find another director, or do you let that photographer do it? Or do you start with the director and hope that person can do stills? If not, you find a stills photographer.
It really, really depends on the job, and a lot of times which has more media behind it. If the client's like, our TV is really important, then I'm going to start with the director and maybe bring on a photographer. If the print is more important, I might start with a photographer and have them do the motion. It's also sometimes budget dependent too. I also find that still photographers are more willing to put more work into the motion than a director would be to stills. Not to downplay anyone, it's just been my experience that they don't think the stills are as important, or the stills just get in the way. So it really depends on the job. But I've definitely given lots of photographers like their, not their first motion job, but like I've given them decent motion jobs that they've been really happy with. So that's been a fun, rewarding part of my job.
Now, in terms of motion, and you're looking at photographers who also do motion, what do you look for to know that they can handle it? Like if you're looking on their website, are you looking for a reel? If they just had different examples, do they have to have a lot of experience? I guess it's job dependent, but what I'm trying to get at is for photographers who do motion, what's the most important for them to show on their website for you?
I would say one of the most important things is definitely to have some decent experience, even if it's personal projects. It doesn't necessarily have to be client work, but I want to see that they can handle it. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of a reel, although that's nice because when I'm looking really quickly, it's a good little quick thing to digest. But just having it really nicely organized too on websites. I love to see that there's a category for it and that it makes sense in the category. I'm not a fan of website categories that don't make sense. Like when people put cutesy names on stuff, like, I'm busy, let's get to the point. Is it lifestyle, food, whatever, motion? Yeah. So I think, just having a nice, clean, organized site, having some decent examples, and a variety of projects. I don't want to go on your site and see you did one McDonald's job, and so everything is all McDonald's motion. Like I want to see some other stuff too, just so I know it wasn't a one-off thing that went. So that's super helpful information. All right, well, we need to start wrapping up, but I do always like to ask a couple of personal questions. Like, for example, what are you known for on the teams that you work on? And is it consistent when you go from agency to agency, do you find? So I just recently realized this. I didn't know that it was a trait of mine, but I'm very transparent. And someone brought it to my attention recently that I worked with someone and I thought they hated working with me. And when I said goodbye, they were like, no, you were our favorite producer to work with. You're so transparent. And I was like, really? I thought people hated that about me because I have no filter. But I think everyone does like to know what's going on both sides, whether that's the rep or a creative in the agency. Like everyone wants to kind of know what's going on. And, as producers, we're sometimes the gatekeepers for all that. And it's not that I like get everyone involved in the minutia, but I definitely like to be transparent and upfront and just kind of let people know what's going on in my process. And so they phrased this to me as a compliment. And I was like, oh my God, I thought you hated me.
That's pretty funny. Okay, well, what is your favorite thing to do on a Sunday?
Make pizza.
Oh God, that sounds delicious. My God.
I have a little wood-fired pizza oven on my deck, and my husband and I make pizzas on the weekends, and it's really fun. And sometimes we have big parties, and everyone can come over and make their own pizza, and it's super fun.
Oh, that sounds great. Okay, wait a minute. I can't believe I almost forgot to ask you about your corgi. Oh, what's his name? Tails?
Tails, and he's at Corgi Tails, Tails. He has his own Instagram. He's no stranger to a shoot. He's modeled his whole life. He's 13, and he's just a little angel.
That is oh my God. Well, I follow, I think, every corgi Twitter account and every golden retriever Twitter account out there. So I'm definitely going to look for, it's just Corgi Tails on Instagram.
Yeah, Corgi Tails on Instagram. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll find him. That's so cute. All right. Well, this was fantastic. Oh my gosh. Wait, the last question. If you weren't an art producer, what would you do?
That's tough. I don't know. I might be like a chef or something. I cook a lot. That's my hobby. I get home from a crazy day in the office and I cook what my husband calls ridiculous gourmet meals. And we don't eat till 10 o'clock at night sometimes, but it's just another creative outlet for me. So I could always see myself going into the food world. I used to work in hospitality. So
I think it would be my husband because he does the same thing. I keep saying he's not a cook, he's a chef. Everything he cooks is like so complicated. And I just want to sometimes I'm like, oh my God, that's like too much. But he loves it. He just thinks it's relaxing for him. He enjoys it and it's his outlet.
I love the challenge. Some people think that I'm just trying to impress, and it's really not about that. It's really just that I like to challenge myself, and I'm a Virgo. I'm OCD. So for me, it's like this really great place to channel that energy. And I also love, cooking meals for people that I love or don't love and want to get to know. I mean, it's just such a nice way to bring people together.
Oh, that's very sweet. Well, next time you're in San Francisco, maybe my husband could cook you a meal. And next time I'm in Chicago, I'll come by your place and I'll meet your corgi.
I would love that on all accounts.
Well, this is great. Don't hang up yet. We'll stop the recording. But it was awesome having you here today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. In an industry where the rules are always changing, it's helpful to hear from those on the front line. Heather Elder is the visionary behind notesfromarepsjournal.com. Visit her website for industry updates, stunning photography and video, and the artist behind the work.